What challenges does mental illness pose to a criminal insanity defense? Have you ever wondered how mental illness impacts the legal concept of insanity in criminal cases? The insanity defense is a complex area of law that presents several challenges. Let's break it down. First, the legal standard for proving insanity is quite strict. Insanity is not the same as a clinical diagnosis of mental illness. To use this defense, the defendant must show that they could not understand their actions or tell right from wrong due to a mental disease or defect at the time of the crime. This requirement can vary by location, but it generally needs clear psychiatric evidence and expert testimony. The defendant carries the burden of proof, which can be quite challenging. Next, the success rate for the insanity defense is low. Statistics show that less than 1% of defendants plead insanity, and only a small number of those are found not guilty by reason of insanity. This reflects how hard it is to convince juries and judges that the defendant meets the legal criteria for insanity. Jurors may have different views on what right and wrong mean, adding more uncertainty to the outcome. Even if a defendant is successful in their insanity plea, the result may not be what they hoped for. Instead of being released, those found not guilty by reason of insanity are often committed to mental health facilities. This can mean being held for long and possibly indefinite periods, which can feel more restrictive than serving time in prison. Another challenge is that mental illness can affect whether a defendant is competent to stand trial. This is a separate issue from insanity at the time of the crime. If a defendant is deemed incompetent, the trial may be delayed until they receive treatment to restore their competency. This can complicate the legal process and prolong the case. Additionally, there is inconsistency in how different jurisdictions handle mental illness in criminal cases. Some states do not allow the insanity defense at all. Others may use different approaches like diminished capacity, which argues that mental illness impaired the defendant's ability to form criminal intent but does not excuse the crime entirely. This variation requires careful legal strategy tailored to the specific laws of each jurisdiction. From a criminal defense perspective, these challenges highlight the need for thorough psychiatric evaluation and expert testimony. Defense attorneys must evaluate whether the defendant's mental illness meets the legal criteria for insanity. They also need to weigh the risks of pursuing this defense and consider alternatives like diminished capacity or negotiating for sentencing that includes mental health treatment. Understanding the role of mental illness in criminal law is essential for effectively advocating for defendants facing serious charges.